border and did one crossing Lake Erie, also dressed up like an ISIS terrorist, and crossed Lake Erie into the United States while wearing that black trademark terrorist mask. And nobody detected us, and we had bags of fake ricin and bags of Ebola, fake Ebola, and we walked right into the United States, right into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, thus showing our leaders have lied to us about the fact that our borders are secure.
Incredible. We're showing video of it right now. Describe it blow by blow, and then what the response has now been.
Well, it was pretty simple. We chartered a boat, went out into Lake Erie towards Canada. We had a little skiff, like a little Zodiac a boat that we had our terrorists get on, and this was about 20 miles off the coast of the United States, and we had the skiff approach the boat with the bags of ricin, board our charter boat, and then take it all the way to the United States. And there's a dock right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we got onto shore and walked. And remarkable, no one noticed it. We actually interviewed the fishing boat captain. He says he never even sees Border Patrol on the Canadian border. He's been doing that for 20 years. And you're supposed to self-report. So if you're a terrorist, the captain told us you're just supposed to self-report the fact that you're about to conduct terrorist activities. It's pretty outrageous stuff. And like I said, I mean, our leaders need to be truthful about the status of our borders. They are not being truthful. So my hope is that these videos outrage people and force people to do something about it.
We've got top Spanish TV hosts swimming across the Rio Grande to show how easy it is and to invite a further invasion. Doesn't this prove the whole war on terror domestically really is a hoax?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. It's certainly we are not getting, I mean, we just had Senator Reid say our borders are secure. We had Janet Napolitano say our borders are secure. So they are not being honest with the American people about what is going on. And we're just trying to show people the truth. I mean, I don't think people even know that this is happening. I didn't even know what it was like on Lake Erie. I didn't know that if you had a boat filled with weapons and drugs, you can get into the United States. And the guy that beheaded the journalist, James Foley, he had a British passport. You don't need a visa to get into Canada if you're from Great Britain. So this is actually plausible. This is something that could happen. We're now, 2 days before this 9/11 anniversary. So I think people need to know the truth about their borders. They need to know what's going on in their country because our elected officials are lying to them.
Well, God forbid any of these real ISIS terrorists, these nutballs, get in and kill a few hundred, a few thousand people. That'd be horrible. But the even bigger threat is how we're losing our freedom because of this ongoing supposed threat, but our border's wide open. But the TSA naked body scans us and, inspects every baby diaper. I mean, this really is just about training us to be slaves.
I mean, the TSA, it's sort of like reminded me, it was reminiscent of the guy in the Lake Erie saying, you have to self-report yourself to the officials in the United States. It's sort of like when TSA, a terrorist would not voluntarily submit himself to a TSA agent before he boarded an airplane. They are similar levels of absurdity here. And it's just, the question is, do you feel safe? Do you accept this in your country? Do you accept the status quo that you can voluntarily, a terrorist or a violent criminal voluntarily submit himself to an authorized representative of our government before committing an act of terror? It is a ridiculous thing. And that's what we're trying to show with our video. And it's getting a lot of attention. It was on the top of Drudge. It was broadcasted everywhere. And I think we're really hitting a chord with this whole border security issue.
That's right. You know what you're doing because the mainstream media will not go report the reality, just like when Drudge and the New York Times and all the rest of them picked up our report, where our reporters got a tip in McAllen by the Border Patrol to go to the bus stop at dusk on the border, and literally dozens of Greyhound buses were loaded with illegals. Their IDs weren't checked, anything. They were given government vouchers to be bussed wherever they wanted, and that forced mainstream media to finally cover it. It took about 2 weeks. But that shows how scary and controlled state-run media is, that we have to embarrass them into reporting the fact that Obama has already opened the borders up.
Oh, confidentially, we actually had producers for some of the network TV actually email us and say, we actually love your report. These are people who are on the left. Some of them were in the center, but they actually loved the visual representation of it. Actually, someone going out, we actually go there. That's what Project Veritas does. We go there to get the story. And, you know, whatever you think about the state of our media, certainly you can acknowledge it's more interesting to go out into the field and collect video of what's happening on our Canadian border, on our Mexican border, than it is to sit into a cubicle and aggregate tweets all day. I mean, this is an important direction. I think, you know, I've been on your show. I've said many times that citizens have to be willing to risk their reputations for their country. They have to be willing to put themselves on the line. They have to be willing to go out there and do the job they're not doing. But now that I have TV producers at the major networks emailing me confidentially saying, James, I actually really liked your video. Well done. I almost feel like they wish they could go out and do these types of reports, but someone's got to do it. And nobody is being honest about what's happening on the border. They say the fence goes for 2 miles, it stops for 2 miles, it starts for 2 miles. And in Lake Erie, I've got a fishing boat captain telling me, this is unbelievable, that for the last 20 years, he's nary seen a Border Patrol agent. It really is, it shocks the conscience. And I think, just like the Ray Rice video came out yesterday in the elevator, it showed people, they already knew that the guy had punched, you know, his fiance. When you see it, when you see video of our borders, when you see these types of videos, it really illustrates it in a way that no policy research paper ever could. My hope is that this series of investigations that we're doing, and even the one you did, they outrage people to force their representatives to do something about the problem.
Well, I want my Bill of Rights and Constitution back, and I don't want the system to allow more attacks to take place because they get to take more of our liberties. We basically imitated your report and expanded on it because we thought it was a good idea and genius to do that, so that if there is a big terror attack this September 11th, as Homeland Security says they think there may be, that the government gets some of the blame here. Instead of just getting to get expanded budgets, we're here pointing out that why is the Border Patrol giving people tickets for drinking beer 20 miles from the border at a public or state park? Why is the different federal agencies and the Coast Guard pulling over our fishing boat in Port Aransas with a half dozen redfish in the hold and a few trout, wanting to inspect that we haven't overfished with my young children, while ISIS terrorists could just drive right in and blow stuff up? It just shows this whole apparatus is being used for revenue generation, that fisherman has never seen Border Patrol or Homeland Security. But I bet you $1 million he gets pulled over every week to get inspected to see how many fish he's caught with the tourists he brings out to catch a few fish.
We also got an email from someone in Canada who emailed us and said that they were crossing the border into the United States from Canada, and he said it was a ridiculous experience. His 10-year-old and 8-year-old got grilled of being suspicious terrorists for over an hour, and we've gotten all types of emails from Canadians. I myself have crossed into Canada from Michigan into Ontario, and I had to sit around for 2 hours as they looked at my criminal background, looked at my background as a journalist.
Oh, I was 14 hours and screamed at. It became national news. Because I was trying to cover Bilderberg up there in 2006. So it's a total joke. Why do you think they love to attack a dad with his 10-year-old or a family or someone they know has no criminal record, but then they will just let unlimited jihadis in to Canada? That's come out in the news.
You know, that's a good question. I mean, the fact is they're not being honest with people about the extent of the problem. I mean, I've never even seen a report. Maybe there has been one about the Great Lakes. I didn't even know if there was Border Patrol in the Great Lakes. I didn't, when we went down to the border in Mexico and we showed that fence, we actually got CNN to show images of that fence. CNN had never even shown that part of Hudspeth County, Texas before, West Texas. So people need to be educated about this. I don't know if it's malicious. I don't know if it's intentional. We did get a response, like I said, from the Federal Border Patrol. They said they can't be everywhere at once. We have yet to get a response from the Canadian or the Canadian-American border officials. But it's interesting to know if their intention. I mean, I seriously, I know you have. I have been too. I've been harassed by federal agents on the border before. I had sat in a waiting room for an hour or two as they went through my history. So it is deeply ironic that now I'm getting notes from people saying, oh, I can't even get into the United States. They're harassing my child. They're looking at how many fish we've caught. But you can dress up like an ISIS guy, have big bags of labeled Ebola, and you can actually cross into America and not even have anyone say a word to you. It is a remarkable juxtaposition, and that's the important thing. That's why Project Veritas, that's why I believe in these visuals, juxtapositioning them together and showing people the truth. It's a very effective tool, and I hope we do get a response from the White House on this. And if we don't, maybe we do a part 3, because there's such intense interest about our borders.
You could do a flotilla with like 10 boats and call it an ISIS invasion. And have them playing Wagner or something like Apocalypse Now, and maybe then when nothing's done, that would actually get some attention drawn to this. How do you respond? Because when we, basically redid what you did, but with a beheading and the guy with an ISIS flag, we saw a minority of people say, how dare you show the terrorist where to get into the country? My response is, any real terrorist, the coyotes, the whole world knows, and I did know that the Great Lakes are wide open and the Canadian border is wide open and most of the Texas border is wide open. This is well known to everyone, but I think the average American, because our media keeps them in the dark. But I mean, how do you respond to that? Hey, why are you showing the terrorists how to attack us?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty ridiculous criticism. I mean, the politicians, the only people that are shocked by this are the actual the fake shock, are the politicians who have said the direct opposite of what we are proving to be true. The idea that they don't know how to cross the United States. We showed a walking bridge, a cast iron footbridge. You can actually walk into the United States. The notion that we're showing people how to cross from Canada into U.S. I mean, there's a big lake, and the fisherman captain said you can actually, it takes an hour to get a speedboat from Canada to the United States. This is common sense here.
They famously ran all the whiskey during Prohibition across it.
It's common sense. Anybody knows that you can get from one side of the lake to the other side. We just wanted to show people that because we believe our mission is showing people is more powerful than talking about it, than writing a policy paper about it. And I don't even know why. No people in the network news have gone there and done it before, but I don't care. We need to do it.
Well, I know why, and I know you deep down probably know why. You got 3 or 4 companies that own all the old dinosaur media now. The executives up top, not just about price cutting, because they know it generates ratings to be in the field. They want to end journalism as it's known. The major global corporations that are anti-free market, that are preying on the rest of the free market corporations, the middle class and others, they don't want real journalism anymore. Just like Congress keeps cutting federal investigators from white-collar crime. White-collar criminals basically run the system now worldwide. They don't want media out there. They don't want a James O'Keefe. They don't want a Greg Palast. They don't want a Matt Drudge and Alex Jones, left, right, center, libertarian. It doesn't matter. They don't sleep at night because of that. They want it shut down. But because of that, they've created a vacuum. So the new golden age of media is returning. We're just the return of muckraking, the return of news being exciting because it's real. I mean, they've made news boring on purpose to kill it, to replace it with cooking shows. They put me on CNN. I've been on CNN like 6 or 7 times. Every time it's on the news that ratings double or triple. I mean, look, they could put me on the news, on national TV right now. I could save CNN in 1 week. Guaranteed. They could put you on CNN and you could program it. It would turn around. They know that. They want to kill it, James.
I think it's a combination of 3 factors. I think it is a little political, shared politics to an extent. A lot of these media officials just don't want to expose the issue of, say, border insecurity because that runs against their political ideology. I think it's also ambition. I think a lot of these journalists want to be somebody and they want to use their sources. But I also think there's a little bit of fear here. They are afraid. People are genuinely afraid of their government, of their IRS, of the retribution they might face if they go out on a limb and say something they shouldn't say.
It's the chilling effect.
it's the chilling. There is a chilling effect. So, you know, if nothing more, hopefully our efforts, the efforts of Project Veritas, inspire some people that, you know, we've already seen. There's a Daily Caller article today came out. And
James, I know you got to go, but we got you on a little bit late. Do 5 more minutes to talk about the Daily Caller article, to talk about Breakthrough, your book that we sell at InfoWarsStore.com, and to give us a hint of what's coming next. You'll be out of here in 5 minutes after the break, and I'm going right to your phone calls. Stay with us.